Thank you, Mr. Chairman. St. Louis and I are here today because our economy needs to fully recover from the devastating effects of the pandemic. Housing is the bedrock of our nation's economy. One of the biggest challenges facing St. Louis and communities across the country is a dire shortage of affordable housing. When landlords raise rents, my constituents face increased housing insecurity and the threat of eviction. Renters in St. Louis and around the country are forced to contend with Wall Street investors who buy up homes in the area, jack up rents, and neglect building maintenance, all to extract greater profits. Private equity firms took advantage of unprecedented foreclosures during the 2008 recession, which forced millions of people from their homes. These corporations seized on historically low interest rates to purchase foreclosed homes. Local landlords and small business developers have been muscled out of the local housing market. In 2022, the St. Louis Post-Dispatch estimated that out-of-state investors owned nearly 34,000 single-family homes in the region. Investors have doubled the percentage of homes they own in my district over the last 10 years. In one housing complex in my district called Ridgeview Apartments, the property has changed hands at least 4 times in the last 3 years. This wreaks havoc on residents and creates a dire lack of accountability. Ridgeview residents report there's so little communication that some people realize too late that they were sending their rent checks to the wrong place, and it's difficult to keep track of who their landlords are. The St. Louis area is experiencing a housing crisis, and evictions are at the highest level in years and still on the rise. Wall Street speculators have turned places like Ridgeview from homes for families into assets on their balance sheets. Working families can no longer afford to buy or even rent many places that were previously affordable. Mr. Kogan, what are the advantages of home ownership for building household and generational wealth?
Thank you, Congresswoman. Home ownership is one of the best ways for families to build wealth and to pass on intergenerational wealth. And to the extent that we have seen policies in U.S. history, such as redlining, that have discriminated against people in the United States, this thing that is supposed to work for everyone has been limited to a certain cohort. And to the extent that the economy does not work for a whole host of Americans, then it is not working for Americans. Homeownership is beneficial because it allows you to, it's forced savings that allows you to build equity, and it also pushes costs away from when you are stuck in a fixed income later and pushes it to when you're more able to afford it. And so as home equity, as private equities come and buy up a lot of the housing stock, this limits the ability of individuals to capitalize on this ability to take advantage of these mechanisms. So as the forced savings goes away, folks are not able to kind of to use that. Sorry, thank you.
No, you're fine. And I think you started to hit on this point, but Mr. Kogan, how would you say that private equity snapping up these housing makes it more difficult for the average American to family to purchase a home? Like, you started there, but if you could go a little further with that.
Sure. So typically, a lot of people will be able to buy from an individual. With a whole lot of buyers or a whole lot of sellers, there's kind of a broad ability. You can shop around. You can find someone who fits whatever you're looking for. And to the extent that more and more of the housing stock is being bought up by a few select companies, we're moving closer and closer to a monopsony where a few sellers are able to set all the prices. And so through this, it is limiting kind of the ability for folks to shop for what they need and able to find what they can do.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The Biden-Harris administration is working to address this problem. The administration's Housing Supply Action Plan will reduce barriers for families to access housing by expanding financing for low-income and climate-ready housing and promoting the conversion of unused commercial space to residential space. Moreover, the American Rescue Plan, that not a single one of my Republican colleagues voted for, included the HOME program, which will add at least 20,000 units of affordable housing across the United States while supporting 23,000 households with rental assistance. Congressional Democrats and the president have taken fundamental steps that support American families. Far too many people struggle to secure basic housing, and yet our colleagues across the aisle and their type of economics seek to cut taxes for the wealthy and cut services for those in need. It is absolutely shameful, but I yield back.
Thank you, Chair. Now